Hi, I'm here with Nicolas and we want to talk a bit about the differences and similarities of the Nikon Z8 and Z9 because we have both been shooting a lot with these cameras, you even more than me. I don't know how many pictures you have taken by now.
Roughly around 300,000 images,
Yeah.
so
A lot.
yeah, quite a lot, I think.
And you own both of these cameras,
Yep.
the Z9 as your primary body, the Z8 as a backup camera. And the interesting thing is that you prefer the Z9 overall, I prefer the Z8, so we thought this could be an interesting video talking about the differences, comparing them a bit in detail, especially for wildlife photography, and hopefully give you some kind of recommendation which camera to buy.
So in general, like what's inside the camera, I think they're quite similar. So we both have the 45 megapixel stacked sensor. They both can do 20 frames per second in RAW. And they both have like the same autofocus system. So I guess a lot of it is kind of similar, but there are some differences. I think just from the visuals you can see the Z9 is quite a lot bigger because it has the vertical battery grip included, while for the Z8 that's just an accessory. And with that there are some certain advantages and also disadvantages for both cameras. Probably starting just with like the handling.
Mm-hmm.
So with the Z9, for me I can shoot the verticals a lot better, because especially with the bigger lenses it just feels a lot nicer if you can just photograph always like on the side and not have to like hold it on the top, which especially like when you're like sneaking around like rocks, you're in weird positions at weird angles, so it's nice to have like the possibility to shoot like you're used to and not have to like screw around with your hand a lot. I don't know if it's the same for you, but I feel like that's for me a really great advantage for sure.
And just if you're trying to sneak up to an animal behind a rock and you're trying to take a vertical picture and the animal just sees an elbow coming out, it's not ideal. Yeah, what I see the great benefit of the Z8 is mainly the weight, because this one is around 940 grams, the Z9 is 1340 more or less, so 400 grams of difference. And this is really noticeable if you hold it, and it's still noticeable even if you have a big lens attached. And I'm hiking, I think more than you, going for hikes in the mountains, and there I just prefer to have a lighter body. And I feel like the Z8 still fits very well in my hands. It's not a small body, it's still quite a large body. Also, for me, like heavy enough that it doesn't feel awkward with a long lens, but yeah, it's still noticeably lighter than the Z9. So that's why I kind of go for the Z8.
I think for me it's also like, because before those cameras I shot with the 850, but with the battery grip attached, so I was kind of used to like having a large camera, and I like to have like the pinky quite low. So for the Z8 I kind of have it underneath the camera, which I don't really like. So
yeah, and I think this is really, again, a bit the habit. My R5 is a bit smaller than the Z8, and I managed to shoot this without the battery grip, so this is already quite big for me, and I think I also have a bit smaller hands than you. I mean, I think this is really personal preference at this point, and maybe also a good idea, maybe to, if you have the opportunity, to hold both in your hands and see what feels better.
We could see that for sure there are some advantages also coming from like the lower size or the smaller size, but there again you have to do some trade-offs for sure. In those cameras it means that for the Z9 you kind of can fit a much larger battery, while for the Z8 you have these much smaller batteries, and this you can quite strongly also see then in the battery life for sure. I mean, I don't know what has been your experience, but for me, like for the Z9 I can shoot this for like a day, 2 days, and I don't really care about how much battery I have left. While for the Z8 I have to take for sure like 2 or 3 batteries, and whenever I get the chance to load them, I just use them to charge it up. While for the Z9 I just charge them whenever I feel like I want to.
Yeah, no, my experience has been pretty much the same. I would say, roughly speaking, the Z9 lasts maybe 2.5 times as much as the Z8. It's really a big difference, and it makes a huge difference because with the Z8, if it's a really nice morning, I take a lot of pictures. I don't manage to go through the morning, and whereas you say with the Z9 easily throughout the whole day. I mean, a morning session, evening session, and you don't need to charge. That's really quite nice and handy, and especially if you, like, some days you shoot a little bit in the morning, maybe you use 30% of the battery, you don't think about charging it, you go out again in the evening, and then you need to swap the batteries quite quickly. And yesterday we were in a situation where the cameras got quite dirty. I mean, now I think the rain cleaned it up quite nicely, but we were on the beach, so it was muddy, it was salt water, and that's a situation where it's not ideal to change batteries, and definitely an advantage here with the big battery of the Z9. Otherwise, there is no advantage in terms of autofocus, right, or frame rate, how it was with the, because with the DSLRs, I knew that, for example, the D850 that you mentioned, if you use the big battery, you got a faster frame rate and faster autofocus, I think, as well, but...
Yeah, for those cameras it stays the same, so there's no advantage in terms of shooting. It's just you can shoot a lot longer.
Yeah,
that's kind of the difference there.
Speaking of longer shooting, I think if you're into 8K video, the Z9 should give a small advantage that you can record longer before the camera is overheating. I just have never shot 8K. I usually just put it to 4K 120, and there I never had a problem, especially for wildlife. I mean, it's not like you record for 2 hours in a row. Usually it's short clips of 30 seconds, 1 minute, and that's it.
I think even if you shoot like 8K, the issue will be more like having this memory space and not how long they can record. So I think that shouldn't be like a decisive factor in which camera to choose.
Speaking about memory, there is a big difference, and here I clearly favor the Z9. So here we have a dual CF Express Type B card slot, and here it's a CF Express and SD card slot. Yeah, I really wish the Z8 would have dual CF Express as well. I wish the same for my R5, by the way. And the thing is that you are recording redundant, right?
Yeah, so I just shoot RAW, but I write them on both cards simultaneously. So I have kind of the security of if one card slot fails or one card fails, I still have the other one. I do that on the Z8 as well, but there I kind of have the disadvantage that if I shoot longer bursts, it just the SD card is too slow to write all of the files, so it kind of goes into the buffer a lot quicker, while on the Z9 that just doesn't happen at all, I think. So yeah, I prefer the Z9 for sure.
Yeah, so when I was using the Z8, I just wrote on one card on the CF Express and risked it, because even the fastest SD cards are still relatively slow, and they get really expensive. They're more expensive than a CF Express card at this point. So yeah, I think especially if you do a lot of shooting that is really important, here you have the advantage of this redundancy.
So when it comes to other differences, there's one major difference for the GPS, which, I mean, for some that's a major difference, for some that's just not relevant at all. For me personally, I don't really use the GPS, so that wasn't really a factor in my decision as well, but for some it could be quite interesting that for the Z9 you have the GPS included, while for the Z8, if you want the GPS data, you have to connect it with your phone. So it's still, you can manage it to have your GPS data, but it's obviously a lot easier in the Z9.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think what's great if you use, like you do, these two cameras basically in parallel, is that we didn't speak about the controls much, but they are basically identical. Like all the buttons on the top, on the back, they're all at the same place. The screen works the same. You have the same dials, so it's quite easy to switch from one camera to the other.
I mean, there's one difference for the choosing the frame rate. Here you have a dial, while on the Z8 it's just a button which you have to press.
How often do you touch this button?
Not really a lot.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So it's not really an important difference in the end.
But it is a difference.
It is a difference, that's true. Otherwise, there is a difference in price, of course. When I checked, the Z8 I think was around 4,000 $5,500 US, whereas the Z9 was more around $5,800 US. That's just the prices I quickly checked in the US. In Europe, the price difference is not as big, so this might really depend on the country you live in. We hope that we kind of gave you some comparison and if it's worth to spend the extra money for the Z9. We could briefly talk about the battery grip that is available for the Z8. Do you think this is a good idea if you sometimes use it, sometimes not?
So I would say if you think you shoot like 90% with the vertical grip attached, then you for sure go for the Z9. If it's really like you need to sometimes shoot without the grip, but you would prefer to have one as well, then yeah, I would go for the battery grip. But otherwise, I feel like you have to take into account that if you attach the grip, it's a larger camera than the Z9, while you still have just two small batteries, and they are still not like at the same capacity as the large one of the Z9. So for me personally, it doesn't really make that much sense for me. But it's also because I already have like the large camera. I would say if you have the Z8 and sometimes you would like to shoot it with a vertical grip, then you can buy it. But otherwise, I think
go for the Z9 directly. Yeah.
Z9 or a lot of batteries.
Yeah. I hope this comparison and talking from our experience was useful for you. If you have any further questions, just put them in the comments. We will try our best to answer them. And we also put some affiliate links down below in the video description that would just support basically our photography. Thanks for watching, and hopefully until the next time with Nicolas.
See you.